The world tells us that a normal person should love company, should thrive in noise and crowds, should feel alive only when surrounded by others. And when you do not, when having people in your home makes your chest tighten, when your own presence feels more honest than any gathering, the world is quick to say something is wrong with you, that you must be fixed. But you and I know this is only another coat that never fit. Because here is the quiet truth. The people who feel uneasy with visitors often understand something subtle, something about energy, about the shape of the self, about the sacredness of personal space. They are not hiding from life. They are protecting what is precious. Your home is not simply a structure. It is the physical outline of your inner world. Every room and every quiet corner mirrors a part of your psyche, the part that breathes freely when no one is watching. So when someone steps inside, they are not just entering a building, they are crossing a threshold into your very being. Perhaps that is why you hesitate, not from fear or flaw, but from knowing the value of peace in a world that rarely remembers how to be still. Think about what really happens when you walk through your front door after a long day. You have spent hours wearing the face the world expects, shifting between roles, carrying responsibilities that never quite fit the shape of your spirit. And the moment you step inside, something softens. You return to yourself. You take off the mask. You loosen the armor. You breathe in a way you cannot breathe anywhere else. Home is the place where the performance ends and the person begins. But then the doorbell rings. And suddenly, without warning, the mask climbs back onto your face. The social self switches on. The version of you that knows how to smile on command, how to offer a drink, how to play the host even when your soul wants silence. In the very space that was supposed to hold your truth, you are pulled back into a role you never asked to play. Of course you resist this. Of course something inside you pulls away. Yet if we look more closely, the discomfort you feel is not just about energy. It is not only about peace, although those reasons are honest and real. It reaches deeper than that. It touches the way you are built at the most intimate level, the quiet architecture of a self that simply wants permission to exist without an audience. There are, you might say, two fundamental ways human beings meet the world. Some draw their energy from the outside. They feel themselves come alive in the presence of others, as if every conversation plugs them back into the current of life. Place them in a crowded room and they glow, bright and effortless, as though the world itself were lighting them from within. Their fuel comes from stimulation, movement, contact. The external world fills their cup. But others, perhaps you move through life in a very different rhythm. Your energy rises not from noise but from silence, not from company but from the quiet companionship of your own presence. You are restored by stillness, by the absence of demands, by the gentle texture of being left alone. For you, the outer world is not a refueling station. It is a place where your energy leaks, drop by drop. Your home, your sanctuary, is the well you return to when the world has taken more than it gives. And once you see this clearly, the entire story shifts. You are not being difficult when you resist visitors. You are not antisocial for preferring an empty room to a crowded one. You are simply honoring the way your instrument is tuned. A violin does not apologize for not sounding like a drum. A river does not apologize for choosing the direction gravity gives it. And you, in the same quiet wisdom, do not need to apologize for needing solitude in the same way others need company. Now, here is where it becomes truly interesting. Your reluctance to have visitors may also be revealing something about your inner world. All of us carry what could be called the shadow, the feelings we pushed aside, the fears we buried, the parts of ourselves we learned to hide because they did not seem welcome. These are not mistakes. They are simply rooms within us that are still in the process of being understood. So when someone enters your space, especially if you are sensitive, your resistance is not rudeness. It is your psyche guarding its integrity. A quiet recognition arises inside you that certain emotions are still settling, certain truths are still taking shape. You are sorting through your own inner landscape, and another person's presence can interrupt that fragile work. Think of it like working on a delicate puzzle. The pieces are spread out, the pattern is beginning to form, subtle connections are emerging, And then someone comes in and bumps the table. Everything scatters. You must start again. That is what a visitor can feel like when you are doing the deep work of understanding yourself. It is not about rejecting others. It is about protecting the sacred process of becoming whole. There is another layer to all of this, one most people never speak about, the symbolic layer. Your house is not just a place you live in. It is a symbol of your inner world. In dreams, a house always represents the self. Every room reflects a different part of your psyche. The areas you show to the world, the places you hide, the corners you have not visited in years. The face you wear in public is not false. It is simply the version of you shaped to move through society. It is the living room of your being, arranged for guests. But your bedroom, your quiet spaces, the doors you keep closed, these are your vulnerability, your intimacy, the places only you truly know. So when someone crosses your threshold, they are not just entering a structure, they are stepping into sacred territory, into the temple of your inner life. And if you take your inner world seriously, if you are genuinely trying to understand yourself, then visitors can feel like a violation, even when they mean well. Because the real work of becoming who you are happens in privacy. It happens in silence. It happens when you are alone with your thoughts, your questions, and the parts of yourself that finally speak when no one is watching. And this brings us to something essential. The face we wear in company, the polite smile, the effortless conversation. It is not a lie, but it is not the whole of us either. It is simply the adaptation we learned to survive in a world that worships availability. Somewhere along the way, someone decided that the ideal human being should always be open, endlessly welcoming, forever ready for company. But that has never been true for all of us. Some souls are shaped for a different kind of work. Some are meant to go deep rather than wide. The trouble begins when the mask stays on too long. When you wear it even inside your own home, you start drifting away from yourself. Every time you agree to a visit you did not want. Every time you fill the silence with small talk when what you long for is stillness, you choose acceptability over honesty. The world praises you for being hospitable, but inside, something small steps back. After years of this, a quiet confusion appears. You feel guilty for wanting to be alone. You assume you should enjoy having people over. You tell yourself you ought to be more social, more welcoming, more like them. But ask yourself, who made that rule? Who decided that presence is only valuable when shared? The truth is simple. Some of us are built differently. Some of us are meant to know a few people deeply rather than many people lightly. Some of us are shaped to spend long stretches in solitude, not because we reject humanity, but because that is where our real work happens. Every culture has honored this pattern. The hermit in the mountains, the sage in the cave, the quiet wanderer who steps away from the crowd to listen for something the noise of the world cannot reveal. This figure is not a failure. They are not someone who could not handle people. They are someone who recognized that constant stimulation drowns out the inner voice. And look at the age we live in. A time of endless notifications, uninterrupted demands, a society that applauds the person who is always reachable. So when a part of you resists visitors, it is not rebellion, it is remembrance. It is the ancient call toward depth, toward stillness, toward the inner path. It is the quiet voice within saying, be still, be alone for a moment. Only in this silence can you hear what your soul has been trying to tell you. I am not suggesting that you retreat from the world entirely. I am not saying you must abandon human connection or vanish into a cave. Balance has its place. Connection can be beautiful. Relationships do matter. But here is what truly needs to be understood. Your need for solitude is not a flaw waiting to be corrected. Your discomfort with visitors is not a sign of weakness. Your desire to protect your space is not selfishness. It is a form of wisdom. We live in an age of constant stimulation. People are always reachable, always plugged in, always responding to someone's need. The phone rings, messages arrive, obligations multiply, and many wonder why they feel drained, scattered, unable to find themselves. They have forgotten the art of being alone. They have forgotten that the soul requires silence, in the same way the body requires rest. So, when you feel that resistance to opening your door, when you choose a quiet evening instead of hosting, you are not rejecting life, you are honoring it. You are acknowledging that your inner world matters, that your peace matters, that your energy deserves protection. You are choosing not to sacrifice yourself to social expectations. This is an act of courage, because the world will often insist that you are wrong. Family may say you are being difficult. Friends may accuse you of being antisocial. But if you listen to the quiet truth within you, you know better. You know that when you are alone, you are more yourself than at any other time. You know that silence feels like a return. You know that solitude is not an empty space, but a full one, rich with the presence of your own being. The people who drain you when they visit, who exhaust you with their presence, who make you feel as if you must perform even in your own home, they are not wrong and they are not unkind. They are simply following a different rhythm. Their instrument is tuned in another key. They need what you do not need. They flourish in the very spaces that leave you empty. And that is perfectly all right. Let them enjoy their gatherings, their constant company, their busy and outward-facing lives. But you are allowed to choose a different path. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect your solitude as the treasure it has always been for you. Because here is the truth that few people ever speak aloud. The world does not only need the outgoing, the endlessly social, the people who are always ready to answer every call. The world also needs the quiet ones. The world needs those who turn inward, who explore the deeper layers of thought, who sit with questions that do not have easy answers, who are not swept away by the noise of constant obligation. The world needs people who can be alone without feeling abandoned, who can find beauty in silence, who can sit in an empty room and notice that the room is not empty at all. It is filled with presence, with awareness, with the simple and honest truth of being. Your discomfort with visitors is pointing you toward your true nature. It's showing you that you're not meant to live on the surface, skimming along from one social interaction to the next. You're meant to dive deep. Don't call yourself antisocial or difficult or broken. Listen to what that resistance is telling you. It's telling you that you need to protect your inner world. It's telling you that your energy is precious. And when you honor this, when you stop fighting against your own nature, when you stop feeling guilty for wanting to be alone, something remarkable happens. You become more authentic. You become more present. When you do choose to be with others, you're truly there, not scattered, not depleted, not wishing you were somewhere else. You can give from a full cup instead of an empty one. But to fill that cup, you need silence. You need space. You need your home to be a sanctuary, not a stage. You need time when no one is asking anything of you, when no mask is required, when you can simply be. There are moments when the knock on the door feels louder than it really is. Not because of the sound itself, but because of what it would cost to answer it. And in those moments, many people grow uneasy. They call themselves distant, difficult, maybe even broken. Yet nothing is broken, only misunderstood. Resistance is not always a wall. Sometimes it is a compass. It points gently inward and says this space is sacred. It reminds you that the interior life, your thoughts, your breath, your unnoticed feelings, needs shelter from the constant weather of other people. A monk does not apologize for entering the temple. Why then should you apologize for entering your own? Solitude is not the absence of love. It is the soil in which real love grows. For if you cannot sit quietly with your own being, what exactly are you offering to anyone else? Most people hand out pieces of themselves they never even looked at. They speak before listening, give before feeling, perform before knowing who is doing the performing. And the world applauds this as generosity. But generosity without presence is only leakage. You are under no cosmic obligation to open your door whenever someone knocks. The universe does not run on politeness, it runs on balance. And balance sometimes requires saying, not now, or not today, or even perhaps never. Those who truly see you will not push against that door. They will recognize that a boundary is not a rejection, but a form of reverence. When the lights are low and the phone is ringing somewhere far away, sit still. Feel the gravity of your own body. Watch thoughts drift across the sky of your mind like clouds that do not need your permission to leave. In that space where there is nothing to achieve and no one to impress, something extraordinary is revealed. You do not need an audience to exist. You do not need witnesses to be real. This is not hiding from life. It is returning to the source from which all true living begins. The caterpillar does not apologize for the cocoon. The seed does not explain why it sits alone in the dark. And you, too, are allowed to disappear for a while, to let your inner world rearrange itself without interruption. Perhaps the door stays closed tonight. Perhaps the world waits a little longer. Let it. You are not abandoning anyone. You are simply watering the only garden you have ever truly lived in. With time, space, and silence, that garden might even bloom into something beautiful enough to share. But first, let it grow where no one is watching. A gentle close deserves steady footing. This video was never a campaign against visits or against people. It was an invitation to see your home and your inner life as something sacred, not public property. When you learn to protect your silence, your presence becomes stronger. When you learn to sit with yourself, you carry a clarity that no conversation can give. Solitude is not isolation. It is where you recharge the signal of your own being. So when resistance rises, the doorbell rings, the messages pile up, the world asks for a piece of you, pause before you rush to answer. That pause is wisdom. It does not mean you are cold or difficult. It means you have learned the value of inner space. What grows in stillness becomes the foundation of every true connection you will ever have. You do not need to justify your need for quiet. You do not owe explanations for choosing rest over performance. Your time, your energy, your breath, all of them belong first to you. Protecting them is not selfish. It is the beginning of real maturity. The hermit walking with a lantern through the night is not lost at all. He is finding his path by his own light, a light no one gave him and no one can take away. That same light lives quietly within you. And sometimes, the only way to see it is to turn the lock, close the door, and sit with yourself, fully, honestly, tenderly, until it begins to glow.